Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to show you the PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers fully working on the Nintendo Switch. I did a video on this about a month ago, but back then work was still being done to the adapters, so a lot of features didn't work. Now, on nearly all the adapters, you can use the PlayStation 5 controllers exactly the same as you would use a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. But there's some more added interesting things as well. So, in this video I'm going to quickly show you each of them working, but I'm going to really focus on this little one here, because this little 8-bit DOE USB wireless adapter here is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest here, yet it does everything perfectly, and it's got a really interesting online program where you can remap the buttons in a really user-friendly way, and not just that, do different macros and stuff. So I'm going to quickly show you how that works. It's really intuitive. You look at it, you don't need to watch 100 tutorials, you're just going to get it straight away. And a really nice little party piece I'm going to show you at the end is the adaptive triggers working on some games, at least on the Titan 2 adapter here. So as you're probably already aware, on the DualSense controller we have adaptive triggers here where it's kind of like force feedback. You can feel them fighting against you. And when we use this here on Mario Kart 8, I'll show you the adaptive triggers working, and it feels really bizarre when you're drifting around the corners and you're getting this fighting against you. But to begin with, I'm just going to show you all of them working. So let's start with this adapter here. This is made by Brook and it's called the Wingman converter, and this is the NS for Nintendo Switch. So all of these adapters have got the most recent firmware on them, so you have to make sure you do that. What we need to do is, because we've got it in handheld mode, we're going to be using a USB-C on the go cable. Obviously this will work in docked mode as well. Maybe at the end I'll show you that one working in docked mode. And this is what we have to do. We just have to plug this into here. Yeah, so we've got our blue light. You can see it's paired there straight away. And let's pair it up to this one here. So we're going to press the button at the side here, and now it's flashing. And now we're going to hold down this button here and this button here until this starts flashing. And then they will sync up with each other. You can see now it's flashing like that. There we go. Now they've both gone to solid, and you can see now it's working here. So let me just first of all try to show you what this haptic feedback feels like. It is such a nice sensation. It's kind of hard to explain what it is actually, what it's like, but it's just like the rubber balls going around. It just feels nice. And if we go down to test input devices, you can see here that they're all working, just like a Switch Pro controller. And this one here will be for your capture and also hold it down for video, and video does work on it. And the triggers are obviously digital because they're mimicking a Switch Pro controller. Even though these would be analog, they're not analog when you're using them on here. So you can see that all works. Microphone here doesn't do anything, and also the headphone jack doesn't work either. The sound will still come through the actual Nintendo Switch itself. The range of sounds is not the same, so with the haptic feedback you just have a nice rumble. You're not going to get the same sounds coming out off the HD rumble that you do on here. So although this is working in a similar way, like a speaker rather than a motor spinning round, it still doesn't produce the same sounds that this would, but it's still a very nice controller to hold. And with the HD rumble working, it feels lovely. It's kind of very therapeutic when you're playing it. Also, with the lights here, they're just always going to be blue. What would be nice on all these controllers is if there was a button combination you could do. So for example, hold in here and then do this or this to go through different colors on the light bar. That would be nice. And also it's always just going to be recognized as player one. If I was to connect up various other controllers here, this would still just be blue indicating player 1, even though the switch would have this down as player 2, player 3 or player 4, etc. But anyway, that is the Brook converter there, working perfectly just like a Switch Pro controller. Right, let me show you the Magic NS adapter. There we go, you can see now that's gone to solid, and again it's working there. So this is working just like the Brook, but yet when it comes to the actual rumble, it's not going to rumble unless we have a cable, the USB-C to USB cable here, plugged into here, then yes it would rumble. But apart from the rumble, it does everything else. And as well as that, these both work, all of these things work with motion controls. So I'll show you when I do a bit of gameplay at the end that the motion controls are working on each and every one of these adapters here. Now let me show you the Titan 2 just quickly, but with this one I'm going to show you the adaptive triggers working at the end. We'll leave that to the very last thing. You can see now that that's working as wired, and this will allow rumble and everything just like the other ones, but we'll go back to that one at the very end. Right now I think the star of the show here is definitely this little adapter here. So all we have to do is latest firmware, plug it in here. This will only work wireless, there's no USB port on this. We have a tiny little sync button here that we just need to press, and you can now see that we've got a little flashing light here. Don't know if you can see that. Okay, just flashing there, and it's paired up there. We just need to pair this controller with it. So again, hold down create and PlayStation button until it starts flashing, like so. And now it should pair up. There we go, it's just giving me a little rumble, and now that's paired up, blue light. There we go. Now, with this one here, it does everything all the other ones do, but I just want to show you the PC side of it. So this video is dragging on a bit, so I'm just going to do a voiceover when it comes to the software because it's so easy to use. You don't need instructions to do this. Let me just show you what there is. So you pick your DualSense controller and then you pick the Switch, the system it's being used on. The first page here is to do with the button remapping, which is so easy to use. You just look at the button, you see what button you want to map it to, and you click them, and then you save it to the adapter. You sync it to the adapter. Then the next page is for the sticks. You can do loads of customizations here. You can swap the sticks over. You can change the D-pad to work on the left stick. You can swap the X and Y axes. You can make the right stick into your triggers if you prefer to do that. You can select a dead zone, so you can move the stick quite a bit before it even does anything, and you can also select the travel to be a lot less. So for example, if you only want to move it a few millimeters and have it go all the way to 100% travel, you can do that. So it really is useful to set it up for different games to your liking. And the next page here we have the vibration intensity, so the haptic feedback, and we can have it from completely off to completely on, and various different levels in between on left and right. And what's interesting is they both give slightly different sounds. So the left sounds to be more bassy than the right, which sounds to be more treble. That's like lower. And that's like higher, it's kind of like the bass and treble. And then the last page is the most interesting page of all, and that is the macros. And this is where you can do a combination of buttons, so you can have it press certain buttons at the same time, and also different timings in between the buttons. So how I'm setting this up is I'm doing it so 2 buttons are pressed to begin with, and then there's a half-second delay before the next button's pressed, then another half-second delay before another button, and another half-second, and thereon. And then you'll see when I go back to the Switch how when we actually enable this profile to be used, that then when we press the R3 in, it will do this sequence of button presses. So it's quite good. So to enable this profile, all we have to do is hit in on the left stick and the right stick, and then that will turn it on. And again, if we want to turn it off, you hit in on the left and right stick again, and that turns it off, and it's instant. So let me now go back to the Switch and show you what I've just done. Okay, so right now, remember when I click this in, it set off the macro. Well, because the profile's off, can you see? It's not doing anything. This is just normal. But now, enable the profile. Yep, now watch. There you go, here, already set it off. So look, I can still use all the buttons as normal, but when I want to use my macro, so check this out now. Let's just do ZR all the way so you can see there's no confusion. Now I'm going to click in here and watch. It will hit the 2 buttons together, and then it will start setting off the sequence after that. How nice is that? So you see the A and B together, and then it was half a second in between each press. Yeah, so you can see now on a game like Street Fighter how you could set off a series of things to do the harder moves. I think that's fantastic, that is there. And look how easy it is to cancel. Now it's cancelled. And now it would just work normally. Should I connect it up to the TV now, I think, and then I can show you the motion controls and stuff working when we're using this. We've got it in docked mode now. You can see it just peeping out the side of the switch there. So what I forgot to mention was that you will need one adapter per controller. So obviously you can still use your Joy-Cons and your Switch Pro controller, other USB controllers that are supported by Nintendo Switch. But if you wanted to use two DualSense controllers, you would have to use two of those 8-bit DOE adapters. So what we also need to do is you need to make sure that we have this enabled here. So if we go up to here, if I was to Pro controller wide communication, if I was to turn this off now, so if I was to click this, this would stop working. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you that now just out of curiosity. So there you go, it's off now, and although we're still lit up here, we're still synced to that adapter. It will no longer work. So I'm just going to have to get the Joy-Con and enable that, and then it will start working again. Right, there we go, you can see it's working again there now. Right, let's go to Mario Kart to show you the motion controls working. We'll do Grand Prix, we'll do 150cc. When you use these adapters, don't worry about lag. Obviously, it includes a tiny bit of lag, but we're talking milliseconds, which you're never going to... Well, I suppose it depends how professional you are, but 99.9% of the people out there are not going to notice it. Right, so you can see there that it's working perfectly, and the analog is working as analog, because watch this, tiny movements, and big movements. Yeah. So it is working as analog. Now, let me show you the tilt controls. Right, so this will be tilt controls now, and watch this. Now, I don't use tilt controls myself, so I find it hard. But you can see they're working. Right, I think the only thing that's left to show you now is the adaptive triggers, which I think out of everything is probably the most interesting part of all this. Right, so I've got it set up now with the Titan 2 adapter here. You can see it's just going to there, and I've got a wired connection coming out of it into the DualSense controller. Now, this is really interesting, and especially what makes it interesting is, you know, when you use like your power up, if you haven't got a power up, you can press this and it will work exactly the same as just a normal L2 button. But when you use your power up, that's when the resistance kicks in. So it's like it's being programmed into the game. So right now there's no resistance there. But when I've got something, you can feel it fighting against you. It's amazing. It's like it's already been programmed in to Mario Kart 8. Now watch this, when I go around this corner, so I'm going to start drifting now. Right, now drift kicks in, and now, look, can you see? Oh, you're not going to... There, can you... Oh, I don't know if you can see that vibrating. Hold on. Can you see my finger moving up and down? It's focusing on the TV, isn't it? 1 second, let me get it to focus on here. Let me go around in a circle. Yeah, can you see that fighting me? Right, let me get a power up. So, watch it fight against me. There. There, it's fighting me now. There, it's fighting me now. Can you see it moving back up? Isn't that amazing? Here we go, and again. There. Look at that. Isn't that amazing, considering that it hasn't been programmed into the game? What I'm going to quickly do is, because I don't know if my memory's failing me or not, but I don't know when I use a Nintendo Switch Pro controller whether or not, I'm sure the triggers don't do anything, do they? They're just on and off, it's just digital. Well, with this one, you've got full-on resistance. I'm just going to switch to the Pro controller for a minute. Yeah, so on this one here, there's no feedback at all. I can just feel, when I do that, I can feel little pulses coming from the HD rumble. But when I hit these things here, I can't actually feel anything there. So I would say, in this instance, even though it hasn't been designed for the DualSense, I would honestly say the DualSense on this game here is a more enjoyable experience than using the Switch Pro controller, even though the Switch Pro controller has a wider range of sounds coming from it. It's honestly, it's really interesting. I hope that came across in the video there. It's so hard to show you because it's a feeling rather than a visual thing. I wonder whether the other companies would be able to program it into their adapters to get the adaptive triggers working. I think they might be able to, but obviously it's going to depend on the game. But if they made it a feature that you could turn on and off, yeah, I think it would definitely enhance the adapters. So yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a massive thumbs up. Take care. Bye now.